Hi everybody, Dean Lutwin here again, and welcome back to Tuesday Tips for Leaders of Volunteers. This week talking about a little short preview of a webinar I'm doing with VySys Voices on February 11th and February 26th with the wonderful Roseanna Galindo, really taking the lead on this. But as a quick preview of the webinar about technology and volunteer engagement. So this webinar specifically and these tips today are about using different kinds of communication technology that are pretty commonly available to most leaders of volunteers. So we're talking about the difference between when do you text someone, do you use text, do you automate it through your volunteer management software if you have that, do you do phone calls, do you do postal letters, do you rely only on email and kind of email marketing programs to send things out? Are those personalized? What's the level of defaulting to email as your only form of communication? And that's not always appropriate. So just a couple of highlights from this webinar, and it's absolutely free. I hope that you join us on either the 11th at 11 a.m. Pacific or on February 26th at 8 a.m. Pacific, adjust for your local time zones. But really, you want to think about audience-centric communication, no matter which technology you're using to engage volunteers. So effective communication starts with the purpose of the message and the communication and the audience, not the technology. So the message itself drives which piece of technology you're going to use to communicate this, and also how often you may need to communicate this, because repetition helps something land. If you're really trying to get a core message to land with volunteers or the general public, whoever you're communicating with, repetition is key. A reminder for leaders of volunteers, don't confuse quantity of communication with quality. Everybody gets annoyed at spam emails, so if you're relying mainly on emails communication, is that in the form of a newsletter? Is it little bursts of things? We'll talk about how to kind of balance that out, but don't confuse quantity with quality is a first tip. Engagement depends on how messages land, not how they're sent. So the crafting and the wording of the message is much more important than the channel that you send it through. Engagement is also best done when you have data, when you have information. Do you know how many people open your emails? Can you see how many people read text messages if you send automated text messages? If you're using kiosks for check-ins for volunteers, is that set up to communicate just urgent things? Is it set up to just have people sign in and sign out through your volunteer management software, whatever system you're using with your kiosk? You can also use kiosks to help celebrate birthdays or occasions. You can say, if it's okay to share, like, happy birthday, John, happy birthday, Roger, happy birthday, Susie, like whatever you want to communicate, those kiosks can do above and beyond what maybe they're set up for now. And we also want to think about why the choice of channel or technology you use matters. The same message plus a different channel equals a different experience. So if you've done any amount of social media study, or you're engaging with social media, or you've had, from some of my previous tips of mine or others with social media, you know that the channel affects what audience you're getting, what the attention span is, level of attention, the interpretation, and the response. And so again, this webinar is focusing on technology-based channels. So are you doing a phone call, sending an email, sending a text, communicating something through a kiosk where people will physically sign in and see it at that kiosk? And are you repeating that message if it's urgent? Like, we have an urgent call for volunteers in next month at the gala. Is it really urgent, or is it not urgent? Is it something that comes around every year that you want to communicate about, and this is more of a reminder? Or is this a urgent, dangerous, very different, not necessarily dangerous or negative, but is there a very urgent message that has to be communicated for volunteer safety, for community safety, anything like that? The channel is really going to matter. So just like you think about social media, of what you post on LinkedIn should be differently worded than what you post on Instagram or Threads or Blue Sky or Facebook. Different social media channels have different audiences, ages of audiences, demographics, and attention spans. If you're trying to put something on TikTok, and it's more than 30 or 60 seconds long, you're probably going to see audience drop off. You can put a longer written thing or video maybe on LinkedIn and be more successful with that. Kind of talking about that high-tech, high-touch balance as well, the pros and cons and how messages can land depending on how they're delivered. And also we'll offer you a communication technology kind of comparison chart of when, in what circumstances to use these technologies. So I hope that you join us on February 11th and February 26th. Then a recording will be available as well. But last final tip, technological tools work best when they're guided with intention. So just kind of splatting and spamming, maybe not effective, but understanding when repetition in certain channels is going to land better than in others is really good. So ask yourself before sending anything, what is the goal of my message? What do I need the volunteer to know or do as a result of the message? What's the call to action? And what channel best supports that goal? So I hope, again, that you join us and we can have this conversation about over-communicating versus under-communicating and how to make your message sticky. That'll be my part of the webinar as well, so that the message is memorable and maybe needs a certain amount of repetition or not as much repetition because it really lands very well with the audience. So I hope you enjoy these Tuesday tips. If you're not yet a subscriber, join the Cool Kids Club. Hit that little bell for alerts. Please like and share this video if you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time with more Tuesday tips. Take care.